Hello, beautiful people, and welcome back to the Divine Union podcast. I'm really excited about today's episode because today we're going to be discussing the invisible contracts behind giving and taking in relationship and the differences when it comes to giving and when it comes to taking. Hello, beautiful people, and welcome back to this week's episode of Divine Union Podcast. I'm really excited because in this week's episode, we're going to be talking about the invisible contracts behind giving and receiving, and different forms of giving and receiving, and what happens when, and this is why I say contracts, when we give, but it's not from a place of alignment and integrity, and what happens in the shadow. I decided I want to talk about this topic because I had two amazing events this weekend, all around masculine and feminine energies, playing with our active and passive energies. And with one was geared towards individuals, one was more focused solely for couples. And in the couples experience, we covered The Wheel of Consent by Dr. Betty Martin. And I want to use that as a framework and a guide to understand the differences between when we're giving, when we're receiving, when we're doing it in the light, and what happens when we operate in the shadow. Now, things are in the shadow because we don't often realize that we're doing something or have other intentions behind when we do something. And I'm really excited to talk about this because you may think, oh, why do I need consent if I'm in partnership? Or that's less of an issue in partnership. But actually, this is the place to go over differences between when we're truly giving and when we're actually taking. Because many times we can say that we're giving, but we are actually taking from the other. Whether that be I'm taking because I actually need attention from you in this moment, but I'm pretending that I'm giving my energy and that I'm engaging you in conversation, but really it's coming from a place of neediness. It's coming from a place of lack. And we've all been there. I've been there. So I know, I understand this and I know these nuances well. And so it's a tuning to that. Or if it's something like we're doing something nice for a partner, but we're doing it for validation and response, for them to do something nice back for us. There's a hidden intention behind that. And so we want to be mindful of that because partner feels that. And when we operate from a place of neediness or lack, needing validation, needing attention without owning the experience. So it would be different than saying, hey, partner, I notice I'm feeling a little insecure in this moment. I would love for you to just come over here, give me a hug, tell me how much you love me, or walk me through how you would navigate this situation, or I'm needing some tender care right now. That's us owning our experience versus if we are coming in their way and maybe like pouting or circling in a conversation or distracting them, trying to be silly, but we can tell that they're getting annoyed and playing it off as if they're in a bad mood or they're not engaging, but really it's us that's needing attention, but we're not actually owning it. And so, and it's okay to need it, to want it. I'm a sensitive being. I desire a lot of attention, but it's owning that experience and knowing that difference of when am I actually taking energy from partner and when am I truly giving. Now, this also applies to all forms of relationship, by the way. So if you're listening to this and you're not partnered or you're dating or you're with friends, family, I want you to apply these concepts to that. Or even colleagues in the workplace, apply these concepts to that. So let's go over the wheel of consent and use that as the guide to continue this conversation. So the wheel of consent is this wheel, and there's 4 quadrants. Now, it's separated from there's giving on the left, and we're going to talk about that. Then there's receiving on the right, and on the top are the two activities where you're actively doing, and on the bottom are the two activities where you're having things being done to you. So in the top left quadrant, there is serving, right? In catty corner, so directly across from that, diagonal. So there's serving and there's accepting. Now, when we serve in partnership, friendship, the workplace, when we serve, to maintain that in the light, we have to serve from a true place of generosity. And when we're not serving from generosity, but we're serving because we feel obligated to, or we feel like we're doing it because we fear abandonment, or we fear rejection from partner, or disappointing partner, what happens? This is where it goes into the shadow. Now, this is where you see that energy of that martyr energy. I do so much and you don't do half that in the relationship, right? As I'm serving, but I'm over giving, I'm overextending. And so I become frustrated as a result. When we overserve and we don't do it from our generosity, we also become burned out. We become depleted, right? We're overextending, usually from a subconscious fear that's driving that. I have to do it so that I don't lose my partner, so that I don't lose my job, so that I stay well liked, so that I make it easy to be with me, so that I be that perfect partner, colleague, friend, family member, whatever it might be. So serving, we talked about generosity. When you do it from a place of generosity, it's in the light. When we do it from a place of obligation, what happens in the shadow? This is where we go to the martyr. This is where we're burned out, we're depleted, we overextend. Now let's go to the opposite thread of the accepting. So here I'm receiving and I'm accepting. So things are being done to me. Yeah. Now, when we accept, to keep that in the light, when we're accepting the gifts of another, the nice things someone does for us, the compliments they do, a family members providing. When we do it and we do it with gratitude, we accept with gratitude, it maintains in the light. Now, when we accept and we don't have gratitude, what happens in the shadow? Over time, this is what creates selfishness. It's that selfishness, that entitlement, that lazy attitude. And so we want to be mindful that when we're accepting things, that we're always staying grateful. And this can happen naturally when someone continues to provide. You almost forget to be grateful. You forget it's there because it's always there. And so we want to catch ourselves if we notice that we come there, because another aspect in the shadow is dependency. This is what creates that dependency when we're continuously accepting and we're not grateful, but also we're not actively providing ourselves as well. And no one wants to be in that dependent state. It doesn't feel good for yourself, and it doesn't feel good on both ends. And so it's neutralizing those scales. So now let's go to the top right. So we just talked about serving and accepting. Now let's talk about taking and allowing. So taking, we're the ones doing. And this is also when I'm receiving. So I'm on the receiving side and I'm doing because I'm taking for my benefit, for my pleasure, for my need, for my validation, whatever it might be. Now, when we take from a place of integrity and alignment, it stays in the light. So this can be something like I said earlier, partner, I really would love some attention right now. Partner, I would love for you to make us some breakfast this morning so that I can stay in bed and get up slowly. So I'm taking. I would like, maybe I'm touch my partner, physical touch. And maybe I'm giving them a massage, but maybe I'm getting more pleasure out of it than they are. Like I'm taking for me. It's for my pleasure. It can be both. You can also be getting pleasure from it, and they can be receiving pleasure. But there's a nuance there because that's not always the case. And so noticing, or if you meet a stranger, some people are more touchy and you notice I had this recently. I was in conversation with someone and they, just touched my back. And like, I could tell they were taking for their pleasure. They wanted to make physical contact as opposed to me desiring it. And so it's noticing those subtleties. Now, when we take in the shadow and we're not actually owning that we're taking, that's where if it's not a partnership, that's where you can feel that, even in partnership, some of that creepiness energy. But more so be mindful if you're not in partnership, that creepy energy, that's what people feel when you're taking energetically with the eyes, the way maybe you look at somebody, or physically. In partnership, it's more around I'm taking maybe, let's say, validation. I need you to validate me as a man, as a woman, or as a sexual being, as a partner. So there could be emotional taking. There can also be physical taking. Now, opposite of taking, yeah, is allowing. Now, when we're in the allowing bucket, we're actively doing something. We're allowing someone to do something, and that's an action. And we're having things be done to us. Sorry, that's what I mean. We're having things being done to us, but we're actually giving. Yeah. So we're giving our energy, our consent, our surrender. So when we do it in the light, when we accept in the light, we're surrendering from true space of surrender. And we can only truly surrender when we feel safe, when it's in alignment. Because what happens in the shadow when we accept the actions of another, the touch of another, the glance of another? We receive it, we let it into our field, but we don't actually want it. This is where we feel that victim energy. We feel taken from, we feel disempowered. What else do they have on there? Yeah, this is this resentment energy. I resent you because I don't feel like that was consensual. That's why it's the wheel of consent. And it's noticing those differences of when it's in the light, when it's in the shadow. Now, why did I cover this, particularly for couples at this event where we worked on giving and receiving in many different forms, leading and following, practicing different active and passive energies, our masculine and feminine energies, is because working on using both, asserting the desires, asserting the boundaries, learning how to lead, learning how to follow, learning what's your yes, learning what's your no, learning the differences of when you're truly taking, when you're truly giving, let's say, or when you're taking. And also cultivating that balance within of having that healthy masculine core, your roots of a tree, that groundedness of who you are that allows you to feel comfortable to exercise your no, your yes, what feels good, what doesn't, in tandem with your ability to flow and surrender. When you've got that good balance, you're much more able to navigate that wheel effectively. You have less situations where you feel like the martyr, where you overextend because you've got the voice and you've got the balance to know when you come off balance. You're more likely to not accept the glances, someone taking from you physically, energetically, emotionally, because you're more solid in your core, which holds you through that, which allows you to voice what you need. And you got that feminine side and the balance, which allows you to stay in that softness, in that flow throughout and not let someone else impact your energy. It's so interesting, these quiet bargains of desire and exchange, and how we navigate this dance in relationship with all of the people that we relate with. Same thing applies in the corporate world, the professional space, when we deal with colleagues, when we deal with managers, when we deal with our team, and noticing these differences of the nuances and the energetic differences between how we're showing up when it comes to our expectations, when it comes to what we consent to, doing, when it comes to our workload, how we push back, how we ask for things, all of these dynamics. Hmm. It's been such a pleasure. This is such a fascinating, fascinating topic. And if you have any questions or want me to cover an element of this on another episode, pop me a comment in my Instagram. People have been doing it, which has been so amazing because it also helps guide the different episodes and gives me some ideas based on what you all want, what's most valuable for you all on this topic of relating and communication and mastering our energetics in both personal and professional realms. Thank you, beautiful people, for joining me today for this week's episode of Divine Union Podcast. And if you love this episode, leave us a review. This means so much to me. It means so much to the podcast. This is how we gain traction as a podcast and get more people conscious of their energy, of their communication, and deepen the intimacy among humanity. I'm an Aquarius. Can you tell? I'm such an Aquarius. It's the humanitarian, this big vision for humanity, and everything is already shifting and changing. And I love to see what's happening in our world right now. All the good things happening in our world right now. I feel it. And that's the mission here. So give us a little love if you feel so inclined to. And have a beautiful week. I look forward to seeing you next week. And until then, may all your unions be divine.